All right, this is the copyright disclaimer. The copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Fair use, fair use, fair use.
Sundown towns. Let's talk about it. Camilla, Georgia, the county seat of Mitchell County, is 77th on the list. By 1896, Camilla was sick with Jim Crow and fits the criteria of a Jim Crow sundown town. Segregation in public spaces, schools, and housing. Terror from the hoods, the police, or citizens. Violence or worse. Let's learn history. Our ancestors were enslaved in Mitchell County. Cotton was king. There were large plantations and small plantations, and our ancestors worked from can't see to can't see in this county. Our free labor was so heavily used, we've always been the majority population in Camilla. White people in Mitchell County built great generational wealth from our ancestors' free labor. But our ancestors here understood that education, church community, and politics were the legs we needed to stand on for equality. So while enslaved, they would secretly teach each other how to read and write. Right after emancipation in 1866, churches like Bethel Missionary Baptist was founded. And shortly after emancipation, the majority black town of Camilla was ready to vote. The Freedmen's Bureau was in town to help our ancestors find their way with their newfound freedoms. By September of 1868, our ancestors were fully using their political voice in this majority black brewing Jim Crow sundown town. 33 of our ancestors had been elected to serve the Georgia Assembly, but the majority of Georgia white population did not want to see our ancestors in any position of power at all. So they came up with a plan that on September 3rd, they would get rid of all 33 of our ancestors who had been democratically voted in. Our ancestors were not having this, and on September 19th, Mr. Philip Joyner, one of the ones who was kicked out of office, decided to march from Albany to Camilla. It was a few hundred of our ancestors at that march. The goal was a political rally to let our ancestors know what happened and to come up with what to do next. But the white population of Camilla would not stand for this. The word spread that our ancestors were coming to town to have a political rally. The sheriff and an armed mob set up and waited for us to show up. Our ancestors were called radicals after forming a rally in response to them being kicked out of the Georgia Assembly. The projection. The word got to our ancestors that these folks were waiting for them, but our ancestors in Camilla had no fear and they went anyway. So come back for part 2 when we learn what happened when our ancestors got to the courthouse in Camilla, Georgia. Part 2, Sundown Town number 77, Camilla, Georgia. We left off learning that 33 of our ancestors were kicked out of the Georgia Assembly and that our ancestors planned a rally in response. But an armed mob was also ready to respond. Let's continue learning. By the time our ancestors made the 25-mile peaceful march from Albany to Camilla's Courthouse Square in September of 1868, the sheriff and his mob was there. He wasn't there to protect us. He was there to usher in Jim Crow and the fear that qualifies this place as a Jim Crow sundown town. As soon as the mob saw our ancestors, they started firing. When I said they set up, That's what I mean. These white people surrounded the courthouse square in Camilla. Our ancestors were injured and unalived at the hands of this mob because of a political rally. As our ancestors ran, the mob chased them and fired at them for almost 10 miles outside of Camilla. The Freedmen's Bureau account says at least 30 to 50 were injured or unalived, while other accounts say around 75 of our ancestors. And for weeks after the massacre, any of our ancestors who tried to vote, the white population would assault them and threaten to unalive them. So needless to say, our ancestors learned their place in this majority black Jim Crow sundown town. Since we didn't vote, the pre-party switch Democrats won easily, and we wouldn't hold office in Camilla until 2015. We'll talk more about that in part 3. By the 1890s, the Methodist Negro Church and the Primitive Church had been founded, but Georgia's harsh Jim Crow laws were starting, and being black was the crime, and anything we did could set a mob into a lynching frenzy. Such is the case in May of 1897 with Homer Mitchell and Lewis Collier. No trial, just accusations, and they were ready to lynch. Come back for part 3 when we talk about convict leasing, the terror that our ancestors faced, our first schools, and the civil rights movement that eventually gave way to this majority black Jim Crow sundown town having its first mayor in 2015.
The Camilla Massacre occurred in Camilla, Georgia, on Saturday, September 19, 1868. After African Americans were granted the right to vote in Georgia's 1868 state constitution, violence erupted across the state as white supremacists, often associated with the newly formed Ku Klux Klan, sought to suppress their newfound political power. Agents of the Freedmen's Bureau in Georgia documented 336 cases of murder or assault against freedmen from January 1 through November 15 of that year. The massacre followed the expulsion of the original 33 black members of the Georgia General Assembly earlier that month, including Representative Philip Joyner from Southwest Georgia. On September 19, Joyner led a march of several hundred blacks, along with a few whites, from Albany, Georgia, to Camilla for a Republican political rally on the courthouse square. Estimates of participants range from 150 to 300. Despite warnings from the local sheriff and a citizens' committee, which demanded the surrender of their legal weapons, the marchers proceeded to the courthouse square. Deputized by the sheriff, a group of local whites fired upon them, forcing the Republicans and freedmen to retreat into the swamps. The assailants chased them, resulting in the deaths of an estimated 9 to 15 black rally participants, and injuries to 40 others. Over the next 2 weeks, whites continued to terrorize the countryside, threatening and beating black individuals, warning them against voting in the upcoming election. The Camilla Massacre was the culmination of ongoing anti-black violence in southwest Georgia since the end of the Civil War. The incident gained national attention, leading Congress to reinstate military occupation in Georgia and influencing the 1868 U.S. presidential election. The Camilla Massacre remained concealed in southwest Georgia's history until 1998, when Camilla residents publicly acknowledged the tragedy and commemorated its victims.
All right, Shalom. We are the Hebrew Israelites from the Indianapolis branch of the Great Millstone, and we're here to give all praises, glory, and honor to
Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, B'Kadash.
Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well in teaching us this 100% truth. Salutations to them and our fellow Akim who labor in this truth week in and week out on the highways and byways. Also salutations to the hopeful elect of the scattered 12 tribes of Israel, scattered to the four corners of the earth, that be like it to the speckled bird, also known as your Israelite foreigners, and your so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. To you, we say Shalom.
Shalom.
All right, today is another installment of our camp series called For Thy Violence Against Thy Brother Jacob, where we go into the ruthless and violence history that Esau Edom, who is the so-called white man, and the wicked, according to Malachi 1 and 4, has put on us throughout history since he took control.
And even when he didn't have control, he was assisting the other nations that we were subject to, you know, destroying our temples, you know, giving them strategies on how to subdue us, you know, and just to bring Jake down. That goes back to that ancient hatred from Genesis chapter 27, verses 38 through 41. All right, but without further ado, here again, we're going to be talking about this topic here that you see on the screen, the Camilla Massacre of 1868. And this article comes from one of our notable websites called blackpast.org. A link to this article will be put in the description box of the video, so you can go and read it at your leisure as well. All right, and without further ado, we'll get the opening scripture of Obadiah 1 and 10.
So Obadiah, oh, you got it?
Yeah, this is the book of Obadiah, chapter 1 and verse 10. It says, "For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever."
Okay.
Good. All right, so you know, like I said, we going into the violence against thy brother Jacob from the nation of Esau. All right, the so-called white man. All right, and a lot of times, people look at violence as something that's just it's physical, but Esau done attacked the nation of Israel on every level, man, throughout history, man.
Legislatively?
Yeah, legislative. They do things against the nation of Israel monetarily. All right, they attack the homes, the families, taking the black men out of the homes. All right, and obviously you have the physical violence as well. Mm-hmm. All right, it said, "What for thy violence, what shame shall cover thee?" Mm-hmm. All right, and thou shalt be cut off forever. So eventually, Esau Edom is going to start to feel the consequences and the repercussions for the things that he's done to the nation of Israel, man.
He's doing
all
that
right
now. He's
yep.
doing that now, yeah.
All right. And eventually, Esau Edom, the so-called white man, is going to be put in the chains, man. Mm-hmm. All right, and he's going to serve this 1,000 years of slavery. All right, and after that, he's going to be cut off as a nation, man. Mm-hmm. All right, that's the future for the nation of Esau, man. Mm-hmm. All right.
They're experiencing right now. They're experiencing what's called white guilt, so-called white guilt, because of the history. That's why they're trying to get rid of the history right now as we speak. You know, from Nero, Trump on down, being led by Amalek, of course, to get rid of different history museums and things like that. That should reach people in the transatlantic slave trade and hardcore captivity of America. They're trying to get rid of all that history because they know that this truth is really putting the light on all those things, because all the things that happen to us is biblical prophecy that proves that we're the Israelites of the Bible. You got it.
Yeah. Had a precept. Were you done with that one? Okay. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30, verse 7. And it reads, "And Yahweh thy power will put all these curses upon thine enemies, and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee." And we know we know all the nations have a hate for us, but none more than Esau Edom. Okay? And none persecuted us worse more than Esau Edom. Now, you had some things going on with the sub-Saharan slave trade, where they were turning Jake into eunuchs. But this dude was something else, man. Doing abominable acts, buck breaking in front of the families, taking a man's wife while he's there and making him watch, and it's like now you see these clips with these Edomite women saying it's just the opposite. They want to see a so-called a black man mess with their wife. Just wicked, man. Just wicked. So so these curses are starting to move, from us over to them, and they having a hard time with that, because Jake is I won't say Jake is relaxed, but we're conditioned to understand and deal with the things that you all are just not feeling. All right, we understand what it means to go from check to check. My father was in the Korean War, and he said, the guy told him, said, "Man, if I had to live from check to check, I'd kill myself." That was the Edomite told my father, man. He had to go from check, and it's normal to us. Some things had to be sacrificed. Your lights be cut off. Utilities be cut off.
so you can feed your family and stuff. And we deal with that, or have dealt with that, you know. And now this stuff is starting to hit them. They're losing jobs, you know. You got those farmers who voted away, you know, wanting to get rid of the immigrants, and you lost like 90% of your workforce with no backup plan. You certainly not going to do the work you never did. All right, you may know how to, but you're not going to do it to that extent in that amount of time. You know, it just doesn't happen that way. All right.
They losing their women as well. That was some of the curses too.
Yeah. All
right. What does it say? Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. They're going through that as well, man.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. All right. Okay. So, anybody got anything else? Get ready to go into the article.
Go.
All right. Again, you see it on the screen. It is the technical difficulty. I had it, but it went out.
Article. I can start reading.
Hold on, I got you. Okay, I got it. Okay, it's Camilla Massacre. Like I said, you see it on the screen. I will put the description of the link to the article in the description box. It's from blackpast.org. It says Camilla Massacre of 1868. It says the Camilla Massacre was aftermath of a political rally in Mitchell County, Georgia, that ended with numerous participants killed and wounded in the town's courthouse square. Following the Georgia Constitution of 1868, 33 African American men, all Republicans and often called the original 33, were elected to the Georgia State Assembly during the early years of Reconstruction. All right, and we know what the Reconstruction was. That was a period when after the Emancipation Proclamation, actually it passed January 1st, 1863. It was the state of Texas who delayed it another 2.5 years to June 19th, 1865, which is how you got this holiday, Juneteenth. Okay, but it actually passed Congress on January 1st, 1863. Okay, so at that point, and then when the slaves were freed in 1865, and Jake started to go on and build their own communities and things like that, so on and so forth. It was 1868, this year when this happened, that was when the 14th Amendment was passed, when we had citizenship, you know, as a people, you know, supposedly having the same rights as a so-called white man did, but we know that wasn't the case. All right, because when you go back to the preamble of the Constitution, toward the very end of it, it tells you exactly who this country was for. It says to ourselves and our posterity. That was not talking about us. Okay, that was talking about the so-called white man. Because posterity, when you go into that word, it means from the progenitor of a nation to the furthest descendant of that said nation, which was Esau Edom. Okay, the so-called white man. That's why the Lord told us, you know, rise ye and depart. This place is not your rest. Okay?
Done.
It says they were some of the first African American state legislators in the United States. After the election, the white Democratic majority in the legislature conspired to remove all black and mixed race members from the assembly. And what you should note right here too, notice it said Democratic. Okay, Democratic, which goes to show you that the Democrats and Republicans are two wings of the same buzzard. Okay, two wings of the same buzzard. It was in 1965 during the Civil Rights Act when a lot of those Democrats flipped to Republican. Okay, because they didn't like the Civil Rights Law, given the Voting Rights Act. Okay, which by the way never became law because it had to be renewed every 25 years. Okay, which is why they're doing what they're doing right now. And what we're seeing in this article is what just happened in Tennessee and Louisiana. They changed the laws to kick out those legislators and those assemblies in Tennessee, they just did this. This is what happened right here in 1868. Just happened this year. All right.
And even a year before that, with the what's that one guy like Al Green? His name Al Green.
Yeah, Silence him. Yeah.
Yeah, silence him, and then it's a one dude. I think he's a Gadite. He could be Rubenite too, but he got the ponytail.
Mm-hmm.
I forget his name too though, but they basically silenced them because you don't hear about them no more.
Right. Right. Al Green was protesting that Epstein stuff. Go ahead.
This the book of Psalms 83 and verse 3. I'm gonna read it in the NLT as well.
Okay.
This Psalms 83 and 3. It says, "They devise crafty schemes against your people. They conspire against your precious ones." All right. They actually use that word conspire in the article that we read. All right. And when you go into that word conspire, it pretty much means to consult against, plan, devise like plans and things like that. And that's what they were doing, man.
Mm-hmm.
All right, they got the people elected, and they was like, hey, we ain't trying to deal with that, man.
Right.
So they devised different plans and schemes to get rid of the nation of Israel where they don't want them at, man.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
We call that today moving the goalposts.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so they devised crafty schemes. So Esau, Edom, man. Hey, the scriptures speak about how they accomplished a diligent search. All right, they think of many different ways to attack you, man. All right, hey, the Lord done gave us the perfect enemy, man. He'll destroy you to the core, man.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you find out, and then when you put it out there to everyone, you see in this article, then they resort to violence.
Mm-hmm.
When you find that they were being wicked, you know, and being evil in their attempts, then they resort to violence.
Mm-hmm. And I was gonna say they have a long history of learning and watching the other nations that had us in captivity. You know, when we left Egypt, it was the Amalekites who first attacked us. Okay, Edom wouldn't let us pass by, but the Lord said, "No, you're not going to deal with them right now. Deal with them later." In the Assyrian captivity, they helped out the Assyrians right there with those other nations. You know, Babylonian, they burned down our temples. You know, took all of our stuff. And then, of course, when they came into power, they still messing with us during the Medo-Persian. When they came into power with the Greeks and Romans, okay, fell off. Then the revival empire came back during the Renaissance period, which is where we are today.
Well, like he said, the Lord said He would have war with Amalek from generation to generation,
yeah.
Because every generation they're doing something against His people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, every generation you're gonna find that you know when calamity is happening unto so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, that they're in the midst and they're involved in some form of fashion, or they're pushing they're help forwarding the affliction.
I was just saying, like, this was going on in history. Every time Jake had a leg up, they consulted to throw us down. But it was all because of the curses. But they had to salt it. The Lord let them consult to take us down. Even in other scenarios, is in Black Wall Street and all these other different places. The Lord, it wasn't our time.
Mm-hmm.
Black Panther Party. And so on and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I had the same scripture with the brother, but that was just my mindset. Every time, Jake had an uprising, it wasn't the truth.
Right.
So the Lord let them consult against us until we got the truth.
Right.
This is something this is something they can't take away from us.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, which precept?
Back up to your point, you said when you confront Esau about it, you said, when you say, when you confront
He said
Esau,
then they resort to violence.
Yeah. Here it is, Sirach 13 and 3. It says, the rich man hath done wrong, and yet he threatened withal. And that's to your point, because that's exactly what he do. Who is this nigga think he is? He got too high for his britches. That's when they sought to cast you down back into your place, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It says the poor is wrong, and he must entreat also.
Mm-hmm.
See, and that's the reason why the scriptures say what?
they have afflicted the poor,
Yeah.
you know, which is us Israelites, you know, because why? When we've been wrong, when we told to get over it, or they speak lofty concerning our oppression, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
Made a mockery of.
you got a perfect example of that today in that Nolan Wells case. That Jake woman enhanced that audio.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what happened? The nursing, the government entity over nursing in the state of Mississippi.
In the coroner's office.
Started investigating the mother
Mm-hmm.
about complaints.
They harassed them.
Yeah, because she want to know what happened to her son.
Mm-hmm.
You know that's just the devil we deal with. All right.
Yeah, she getting harassed and even by her own coworkers.
Yeah.
You might say her job.
Yeah, and that entreat, you know, just this is a regular dictionary, Webster says to plead with, especially in order to persuade, acts urgently. You know, this particular plea. You know, so she's like really trying to figure out what's happening with her son, and she's, you know, well, and the father there too. You know, and they're going into news media and all these different places, like begging for justice or for at least some information on what really actually happened. And we see that it's like harder and harder for them. But if it was like some rich kid, you know, white kid or whatever so-called, you know, they had that information out there with the quickness if things were reversed.
When the treat, the etymology says to enter into negotiations, especially discuss or arrange peace terms, because they look to basically for you to forget the wrong that was done to you. So they look for you to try to, you know, how can we hush this person up?
Yeah. That's like taking the land from Gad. That's exactly how they did that.
Right.
All right. Back to the article. The original 33 was subsequently expelled on September 3rd, 1868. Southwest Georgia Representative Philip Joyner, one of the expelled members, made plans for a march and rally to be held on Courthouse Square in Mitchell County, roughly 25 miles away, to protest the expulsion. The march began on the morning of December 19, 1868, in Albany, Georgia. In each passing town, more people joined the march until there were almost 300 men, both black and white.
Now, I just want to add this tidbit because there's a thing that's going on where so-called whites or people in America are wondering why the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, but mainly the head tribe, Judah, is not protesting. You've seen history of us protesting, our people going out protesting, and we've had dogs sicked on them. We've seen the videos and pictures where the police would come and they would send the dogs on them, and they're peacefully protesting. No arms. They got their kids with them, children with them, and they had dogs sicked on them. We've seen that the fire department would come and they would shoot them with water hoses, and those things are powerful.
Yeah.
You know, shooting them with water hoses. You've seen that other people would come around.
Heavy military presence. Heavy military presence.
Heavy military presence to block the people off. People would end up being beat up, unalived, major injuries, and we've seen that as a cycle over and over and over. And this is what we're going to see here. They're protesting this situation peacefully, but then they're 25 miles away, and you're going to see that there's violence that come upon them. They receive the wrong justice, they receive it wrong, but they actually get the bad. Our people get the bad end of the stick. But then now today, they're wanting us to join hands and be a part of this thing, or whatever that's going on. You know, we know what's going on with them.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel you. It's like what was y'all at? We were getting the short end of the stick. Like Barzal going into, man, we've learned to adapt. You know, as a people, we have to learn how to adapt.
Yeah.
And now that y'all don't know how to adapt, y'all want sympathy, but where was our sympathy? You know?
Okay. It says they carried guns and weapons with them into the town of Camilla and were met by a local sheriff, Mumford S. Poor, and the Citizens Committee. Poor warned participants to surrender their guns, or they would be met with violence in the town square, even though it was customary and legal to carry weapons at that time. Now for Jake, all right. It says the marchers refused and continued into the courthouse square for the rally. Local whites who gathered were quickly deputized by Poor before the marchers arrived and stationed themselves in town storefronts. And that deputization pretty much absolved them from any legal recourse. Okay, that's what happens, and we have that right now. Okay, same things happen today with this group called ICE. They've been deputized. Okay, to carry out law enforcement, and then they're working with the Israelites now as well too.
IDF.
Yeah, IDF. And we know what that's all about. You know, we're not ignorant of Satan's devices.
Somebody grab it real quick.
You know, because the thing, but you know what? But yeah, so we grab that and then grab Isaiah 59 and 19. Because the thing is, you got to realize that's a combined enemy. That's the head tribe of Edom, Amalek, and Edom themselves, since they want to kick us all out of the military.
You got,
Okay.
let's bring that
So
out.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
2 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 11. It says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices.
Right, we're not ignorant of his devices. You know, if we're only 13% of this population, as they say, okay, why do you have to have a foreign military to help you? Because they know what's about to happen. All right, Jake being worried, but the scriptures say when the enemy come in like a flood, the Lord is going to raise up that standard. So you're going to have one hell of a fight on your hands. All right, go ahead and read that, Isaiah 59:19.
This is the book of
So
Isaiah.
Go ahead.
This Isaiah chapter 59 and verse 19. It says, so shall they fear the name of the Lord Yahweh Shai from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him.
From the west, from his glory to the rising of the sun. That's from coast to coast, top to bottom, east to west, north to south. You're going to know what power you came in contact, and that standard, that's that spiritual power. You know, we're going to have on this side. You know, you're going to have something. Y'all come. You gonna come over here, but you gonna get fucked up too.
That's right.
Point blank, period. And everybody, we watched that video with what's her name, Mandani, old girl from the Young Turks. We're not afraid of you.
Yeah, Saeed Marandi.
Yeah, we're not afraid of you. You know, because we see how you are. You're the same person that attacked us in Egypt as you are today. If you don't have the numbers or the military or the upper hand, you ain't shit. Straight punk. Esau Edom. That's what you are. All right?
Yep.
The article. Back to the article. It says, over the next few weeks, white men from Camilla proceeded through the countryside beating... Oh, Slocky. I forgot this part. Okay. The marchers refused and continued into the courthouse square for the rally. Local whites who gathered were quickly deputized by Poor before the marchers arrived and stationed themselves in town storefronts. As the marchers entered the square, they were fired upon from all directions. Okay? The participants retreated into the swamps outside of town, but at least 15 were killed and another 40 were wounded. Joyner survived the attack and later gave testimony to the Freedmen's Bureau. Over the next few weeks, white men from Camilla proceeded through the countryside, beating and warning blacks that they would be killed if they voted in the next election. The intimidation significantly reduced the Republican vote, and none of the original 33 returned to the Georgia Assembly. Okay? Because they would, that did everything according to the law, and Esau didn't like it.
Yeah, we got what's the Psalms? No, the one he said, "Deliver me from the wicked." which is thy sword. That's 17.
17, 13.
It's Psalm 17 and 13. It says, "Arise, O Lord, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword." And we looked up that sword, in the, we looked that up, and it was going into coerce, right? And so, what was they doing? They were pretty much using their power, the power is in their hand to actually coerce the people from actually going out to vote. So on top of knowing that they did a wrong to these men, they then went out, beat and unalived, killed, murdered many of these people, and then started beating on people that had nothing to do with what was going on.
Right.
And then at the same time, that reduced the voting rate so that they could actually look like they've been in good standing.
I'm glad you made that point about going out and beating people that had nothing to do with it. So if you're listening to this, Esau, your claim to not having anything to do with stuff that happened back then, this is a cut. Because, like the scriptures say, Colossians 3 and 25, he that doeth wrong shall receive for the wrong which he have done. There is no respect of persons. That means his descendants as well. Isaiah 14 and 21 tells us that. Prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers. So right here, you went in this story, and this is not the first one that this happened. You went out and killed and destroyed people who had nothing to do with that situation. And you don't think you're supposed to pay for that? Bullshit. You're paying for it.
This is Wisdom of Solomon chapter 6, starting at verse 1. It says, "Hear therefore, O you kings, and understand, learn, ye that be judges of the ends of the earth," which those in the ruling seat right now is Esau, Edom. Right, you're the head, or your government is the top, right? Verse 2, give ear, ye that rule the people, and glory in the multitude of nations. For power is given unto you, is given you of the Lord, and sovereignty from the highest, who shall try your works and search out your counsels. Because being ministers of his kingdom, ye have not judged right. Which in this situation, we go into how you not have judged right. Because all Jake was trying to do, when you look at the political system, when these Jakes go into the field of being a politician, they may have good intentions, especially back in these days. Now nowadays, of course, it's been a lot changed. They let those token niggas, what we call it, of all the tribes, get in there, whether it be so-called black, Latin, or Native American, get into those political seats. It's going to, do according to their purpose, according to their agenda. It says, you have not judged the right, nor kept the law, nor walked after the counsel of the Most High. It says, horribly and speedily shall he come upon you, for a sharp judgment shall be to them that be in high places. And that's you Edomites, man. Begin with Amalek, because you look at what's going on. This whole thing was started over Amalek. Civil War, Reconstruction, and then, the Reconstruction period where, from 1865 on up, you had to where, because they lost the Civil War, right? The main people that was taken out on was who? Israelites, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Okay, and then what happened? You had these terrorist groups, which are so-called white men, began with the Ku Klux Klan. All right, they was raining terror on Jake, man, by way of what? See, they the judges. All right, they're the officers or sheriffs. Okay, they're the marshal, U.S. Marshals. They the ones when you want a wrong to be righted, they the ones that send out these law enforcement agents to come and correct you, or put you in your place, even if it means killing you to put fear in others. That's what these devils do, man. That's why I brought up Strike 13. You accuse them, you accuse them of something they actually done. The whole fucking world know what they do. Okay, and then what? You out of order for basically wanting justice.
Yep.
And as you've seen over time, we don't get no justice. And then part of your cleanup, you have the judges. When they then take it to court, And then they have, and around this time, the so-called black men and women couldn't testify or be witnesses to things. So
Jurors.
be jurors. So everything was at that time was in your favor.
It's stacked against Jake.
It was completely stacked against Jake.
Even now to this day, you go to the fucking court. Who are your fucking jury?
It's not your peers.
It's not your fucking peers. Because your peers mean your people. So it's not your peers that's trying you. You're getting tried by a nation that hates you. So you're in a lose-lose situation in this world, in this society. That's why we're only going to get justice from Yahweh Shemi Al-Shai.
Right. Because you got to think, from 1619 to 1868, that's only 249 years. 3 years prior to that, the slaves were so-called freed. We didn't have these people in this captivity for this long, and within 3 years, they set in policy. They can't have that, man.
Right. Real quick, we're gonna finish that last one.
Yeah.
This last paragraph. The other paragraph goes into the names of those. The name, if you want to know the names of those men, you can look at the link. We're gonna finish that paragraph though, and then everybody get your last. I know he did. So and then everybody get their scriptures, and then we're gonna end.
Okay.
Somebody got Wisdom Summon 2 on deck. Wisdom Summon 2. Something's holding.
Okay. It says, in 1976, the Black Caucus of the Georgia Assembly honored.
So you already read the Freeman Bureau?
Yeah, the intimidation significantly reduced.
Okay.
Well,
I guess you read that. We're not gonna read all the names.
Okay.
We'll go ahead.
Yeah, because there's a video that appears before this lesson talks about the memorial that was given to these people. So, before we'll read part up to the names. It says, in the 1976, the Black Caucus of the Georgia Assembly honored the original 33 with a statue that depicts the rise of the African American politicians on the grounds of the Georgia State Capitol in Atlanta. The expelled because of their color monument done by sculptor John Riddle has an inscription of the names of the 33 members on its base along with the counties they represented. And it goes into the names of those different individuals, okay? In the last sentence it says, you can read that according to the link of the article. It says, in 1998, 130 years later, the Camilla Massacre was officially publicly recognized by the residents of Camilla.
Yep, you get your scripture. You got one.
This is Ezekiel 35:5, and it reads, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of the calamity. In the time that they had iniquity had ended. And I was going back to the point that you brothers have made. You see, they went around, killing Jake, and then they even started, bringing the sword on Jake that had nothing to do with it. And that goes into, that hatred that Esau Edom has for Jake. And ultimately, because of that, get to the next verse. It says, verse 6, therefore, as I live, saith the Lord, because thou prepared thee unto blood, blood shall pursue thee. Sith thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. And that goes into, Yahweh Shemi Al-Shai, bringing that judgment on Esau Edom for all the atrocities that they have done. You see, and as y'all you was also going into, the law is slack here in this place. Jake don't get righteous judgment here. That's it on that.
Got it. Anybody else?
Yeah. Go ahead.
No,
Okay.
Wisdom Solomon.
Wisdom Solomon 2, start at verse 10.
Wisdom
I'm
Solomon.
just throwing a precept out there,
All the time. It's Wisdom of Solomon chapter 2 and verse 10. It says, let us oppress the poor righteous man.
Yeah, the so-called Negro, Latino, Native American man. The man of Israel. The descendants of Jacob. Are really ones that they're looking to oppress at every given moment. Go ahead.
It says, let us not spare the widow, nor reverence
They don't get spared. They get killed in the crossfire too. They get killed too. When they burn down Jake homes, they lynching Jake. They don't stop at the men. They do women and children too. Whether the children be born or unborn. Go ahead. This is hatred for you. That's gotta be fucking hatred. They lynch pregnant women.
Oh yeah.
It's fucking. I mean, yo, man.
We just did a video of a woman who she pretty much was just trying to get justice for her husband, and she was pregnant.
Hunt, I think that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see how we bring it all together. She was just trying to get justice for her husband, and I think they strung her up.
Turned upside down, cut the belly out, stepped on the baby's head.
Stepped on the baby's head. Yeah.
Damn.
You got more?
It
It says, let us not spare the widow, nor reverence the ancient gray hairs of the age. It says, let our strength be the law of justice.
Yeah, that law.
So you see somebody that's old, gray hair, up in age, you still calling them boy. You know, he got you. He's old, and you young, 20-something, teenage something, so-called white man or white boy. And you looking at an older man, older gentleman, you know, an Israelite man, and you looking down upon him.
Also, they oppressed them and killed them off too. They terrorized them too. Like it says in Isaiah 47. God's heavenly laid the yoke upon the ancient. See what I'm saying? Go ahead.
It says,
Because grandma and grandpa, they get hit too.
Yep.
They old, taking care of the grandkids. You gotta imagine. When all these atrocities going on, what the grandparents do? They retired. They usually how Jake do when your parents get old, they live with you. They help take care of your grandkids when you go off to work.
Yeah.
Things like that, you know. So some Edomites come in their crib, terrorizing them, shooting up the crib. They in the crossfire as well, allowing the fire.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It says, for that which is feeble is found to be nothing worth.
Yep. Go ahead.
Verse 12, it says, therefore let us lie in wait.
Let us lie in wait, like it says in Psalms 10.
Yep.
He sit in the lurking places of the villages. There he said it. He set traps. He lied in wait, right? To catch the poor.
Well, part of that lie in wait is that the sheriff went and told them, you know, about the march, but then they went and started deputizing.
Yeah.
They started deputizing the men to say, hey, when they get to this point, we just gonna start unloading on them.
He did a foretime. He prepared for that.
Yeah.
So let's show you right there. They were prepared to slaughter Jake. Go ahead.
It says, therefore let us lie in wait for the righteous, because he is not for our turn.
Right. You know, back during them times, Jake was going through the worst shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? And those Jakes that was into the politics, of course they were looking to what? To make it a little easier for their own people. And Esau know that because Jake minds ain't just naturally do fucking evil, wicked shit. That's in the mindset of Esau Edom. See? They look at how to make things better in life. Because why? We're the sons of the Most High. Go ahead.
It says, because he is not for our turn, and he is clean, contrary to our doings.
See? And that's the main thing about our people, man. Our ideas and their ideas is polar opposite. We're two different people, two different nations.
Two manner of people in that room.
That's right.
Two opposing spirits.
Go ahead. What's that?
It says two opposing spirits. It says, he upbraideth us with our he upbraideth us with our offending the law, and objecteth to our infamy the transgressings of our education.
Transgressions of our education, because the shit you teaching, try to put in our minds ain't right.
Right. Yep.
We got the truth. The truth is the scriptures. We have an understanding according to the Lord's word of how to do things. That's why it even says in the scriptures what? They by nature do things contained in the things in the law. Because why? We the real Israelites. In particular, Southern Kingdom, some of the so-called Negroes, they ain't real Jews. Go ahead. That's who Paul was mainly speaking to at that time. Go ahead.
It says, verse 13, it says, he professeth to have the knowledge of Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, and he calleth himself the child of the Lord. It says, he was made to reprove our thoughts.
Right. We're the ones that made to rebuke your ass. Because we do have a knowledge of the Most High. All right. It says he showed his word to Jacob and the statutes unto Israel. He had not dealt so any other nation, and as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye Yahweh Bashem Yahushai in the book of Psalms 147.
Well, just in bringing it back to the article, these were 33 councilmen, right? And what do the councilmen do? They actually go and correct and make changes of certain things that were actually happening. Policies. So of course you know that they was going to be like, hey, we got to make some changes to the area that's going to help benefit our people. You know, and going back to the thing, they like, nah, we're not going to have that. We gotta remove them from it.
Yeah.
You know, only to push our people further down.
Well, again, they have been doing stuff the same way for 249 years. And you gonna come and change it in 3? That ain't gonna happen.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna end there. Go ahead and close us out.
All right. So with that, we hope this lesson was edifying to the elect body of the nation of Israel. Once again, we're going to give all praises, glory, and honor to
Yahweh, Bashem, Yahushai, Bashem, Rakakadash.
Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well in teaching us this 100% truth. Salutations to them and our fellow Akim who labor in this truth week in and week out on the highways and byways. Also, salutations to the hopeful elect of the scattered 12 tribes of Israel, scattered to the four corners of the earth, that be like it to the speckled bird, also known as your Israelite foreigners, and your so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. To you, we say Shalom.
Shalom.
Kwam Yasharala.
Kwam Yasharala.
Abba Babal. We got next. Shalom.